turn my camera off because I have the presentation on another screen. Well, I'm going to leave my camera on, but just realize I'm looking at another screen. That's why I'm not looking at you. All right, so tonight we're going to talk to you about college financial literacy. How are you going to pay for college? A lot of people have a lot of questions about how to pay for college. And it is definitely a long process and it's a lot of information, but we're here to help you through it. So I'm going to go through the slides, and remember, wherever you see the QR code, that's where you can go to ask questions. Just scan it and you can ask questions through the Google form. Okay, let's go here. All right. So the first slide I'm going to show you is called Fund Your Future. And I'm also going to be sending out this slideshow to everybody so you can go to the links. Fund Your Future is a magazine that the California Student Aid Commission prints every year that has all the updated information about the different grants, different ways to get money and how to do it. It's a great brochure. I'm going to click on it really quick so you can see what it looks like. But this is something that you can download, and it's both in English and Spanish, and it has a lot of great information in it and worksheets and things like that. So it's really important to go back to that if you can. So tonight we're going to talk about grants, FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, and we're going to talk about scholarships, student loans, how to start filling out your FAFSA. One thing I want to note is do not ever pay anybody to help you fill out your financial aid applications. The reason why we say that is because FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, keyword free. There's a lot of scam organizations out there that will say, pay us $100 and we will get you $6,000 for college. Well, guess what? Ms. Prendergast, myself, and the rest of the counseling team, we can help you get that $6,000 for free. So please don't get caught up in those scams. We don't like every year, we always get a note from a parent asking why they had to pay. It's because it's a scam. So please do not fall into any of those scams. Okay. Remember, those of you that have come in a little later, the QR code at the bottom right is how you can sign in and ask questions. Okay. Go to the next slide. We like to cover this slide just because it talks about the importance of higher education. And I'm not just talking bachelor's degrees, I'm talking about career and technical certificates that you can get at a community college or you can get at a trade school. But you can see this, was based on 2014 earnings. And if you have at least a bachelor's degree, your earnings start to go over the national average. But what I really like is what's here on the left-hand side is the unemployment rate. The higher degree or training you have, the less chance you have of being unemployed. And especially with COVID, studies have shown that people that have some sort of certificate or training or professional training have not been employed long. So they might have lost their job to COVID, but because of their training or their degrees, they were able to find another job pretty quickly. So that's why we really are wanting the kids to move forward to community college, to a trade program, to a four-year university, because we want their earning potential to grow over the years. All right, so who should apply? Any senior will be applying to the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act. It is not open for juniors, but we invite juniors to this workshop so you can help prepare for next year when it's time for you to fill out your FAFSA and so you can plan for college. Heritage High School and the Paris Union High School District have made filling out the FAFSA or the CADA graduation requirement. So you are required to fill out your FAFSA. Once you do that, you'll find out information about how much you'll be awarded or not awarded. Some people say, well, my child's going into the military. Why do I need to fill out the FAFSA? Well, we recommend everybody fill out the FAFSA because while you're in the military or while you're enlisted, you could go to community college. And while you're going to community college, you can collect college units, and the FAFSA will help pay for that. The more college units you have, the more money you make while you're in the military. So that's why we recommend everybody just fill out the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. It's not going to hurt you. It doesn't affect your credit. It's not signing up for a loan. Those are some of the old wives' tales about the FAFSA, that your credit's going to get ruined. It is not signing up for a loan. It's telling you what loans are available for you, but you're not signing up for a loan. And we also say, even if you make good money, you've got a great job, and you know you won't get the free money, student loans through the FAFSA and the California Dream Act are cheaper than you would if you get it at your bank. Okay. And once again, if you have questions, click on the QR code, and Ms. Prendergast will be fielding those questions. Okay, so what's new for this school year is the Pell Grant has risen up to $6,345. So what the Pell Grant is, that's federal money. That's money that's coming from the federal government, and that's the money that you will find out if you receive when you fill out the FAFSA. So typically, if you're eligible for free and reduced lunch, you will be eligible for the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is not based on GPA. A lot of students say, oh, I'm not going to fill out the FAFSA because I have a low GPA. The Pell Grant is based on need, financial need. So that's why if you fill out the FAFSA and you get free and reduced lunch, you'll more than likely get the Pell Grant. And as I noted here at the bottom, 75% of our students in our school district receive the Pell Grant. And the nice thing about the Pell Grant, too, is that's good for any school, career technical training, community college, four-year university. It's good for out-of-state schools. So that's a really good grant that you don't have to pay back. Remember, grants you don't have to pay back. That's free money as long as you stay in good academic standing and as long as you stay a full-time college student. All right, so California has their own additional funds that are that you can be eligible for, and we call them the Cal Grants. So the way it works is you fill out your FAFSA, and then the FAFSA, the federal government sends your financial information to California, to the California Student Aid Commission, to CSAC, and then the California Student Aid Commission decides what Cal Grant you could be eligible for. So remember, the Pell Grant is separate. So that's separate money that you will receive if you're eligible. The Cal Grant is a little different. So the Cal Grant is broken down by GPA or what school you're planning on going to. So the Cal Grant A, and if there's juniors here in this workshop, it's very important that if you can, you need to get your GPA, your 10th and 11th grade GPA to a 3.0. Because once you become a senior and start your senior year, you can't go back and fix that GPA. So to receive the Cal Grant A, you have to have a 3.0 or higher during your 10th and 11th grade year. And the award amount is based on what college you're going to. So if you're going to the University of California, the award amount could be up to $12,570. So let's say I'm a student who receives free and reduced lunch. I want to go to University of California, Riverside. University of California, Riverside, you don't at this point have to live on campus. So I could receive the Pell Grant, the $6,300 Pell Grant, as well as the Cal Grant A, which is $12,570. And the two then combined is $18,000. Now that sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but that will basically cover all of your costs for University of California, Riverside for those two grants. Remember, grants are money that you do not have to pay back. Now, if I am planning on going to a Cal State, let's say I want to go to Cal State San Marcos, I can receive up to $5,742 for Cal State San Marcos. And then I'm going to let you guys read through and see what the other dollar amounts are. Then you have the Cal Grant B. Oh, wait, let me go back. So the Cal Grant A, if you decide to go to a community college first and then transfer to a four-year university, you can do that. And what they do is they put your Cal Grant A on hold. So that way, if you want to go to MSJC first and then transfer to a UC or Cal State, you can hold that money and use it for the more expensive college. Now, the Cal Grant B is for your first year, and you can use that towards community college as well as a four-year university, and that's if you have a 2.0 or higher. Cal Grant C is for technical and career education, and that could be at a community college. Let's say I want to become an automotive tech, and I want to go to RCC for 2 years. I can use the Cal Grant C. And if you notice, the Cal Grant C does not have a GPA requirement on it. And then there's other awards there. I'm not going to go into those, but that's more information about the Cal Grant A. How are we doing, Ms. Prendergast? Do we have any questions, or how are we doing?
We're doing good. We had a good question of can scholarships apply for sophomores right now? Should they be applying?
That's a great question. There aren't many scholarships available to 10th grade students. There are some scholarships available to juniors. We'll be talking a little bit more about scholarships in a second, but that's a great question. Okay, I'm going to go forward. All right. So the one thing, though, about the Cal Grant that you have to know is Cal Grant is only good for colleges in California. So you have to spend that money there. So if you decide to go to University of Nevada at Las Vegas, you cannot use your Cal Grant money there. You can use your FAFSA, federal Pell Grant money there, but you can't use your Cal Grant. So a lot of times parents are like, well, how do I know? How do I know? How do I know what income is going to be necessary for my child to get a Cal Grant? So we're going to get into that in a second. But these are the people that are eligible for the Cal Grant. You have to be a citizen or an eligible non-citizen. So what do they mean by eligible non-citizen? Is that would be somebody with DACA status or non-citizenship status that has lived in California for at least 5 years or has graduated from a California high school within 3 to 4 years. So California is one of the wonderful states that supports our undocumented students, and they will be eligible for the Cal Grant if they meet the GPA and the income requirements. The other thing that we get a lot of questions about is the selective service. So I'm going to talk about that really quick. The selective service, it's federal law that when a male turns 18, that they have to sign up for the selective service. And what that is the draft. And with the draft, we haven't drafted young men to go to war since the Vietnam War, but that is still a federal law that exists. So even if you're an undocumented student, you still have to sign up for the selective service. Every male that's a resident in the United States has to sign up for the selective service when they turn 18. If you refuse to sign up for the selective service, first of all, you're breaking the law, and second, you will not receive financial aid. So if you want to receive that $6,000 or that $5,000, you have to sign up for the selective service. And one other thing is that it's just for males, it is not for females. Okay. This is the income asset ceiling chart that I was talking about a little while ago. So the way you read this is your family size, and then this is the income. So if I have an income of $110,000 and I have 4 or more dependents, my child will be eligible for the Cal Grant A or the Cal Grant C. And then the B, that's a little different right here. Your students are considered dependent. So you can take a look at the chart and kind of guesstimate based on your 2019 taxes, your adjusted gross income, where you fall and how many people are in your family if they are eligible for the Cal Grant. Independent would be, for an example, for an 18-year-old, would be somebody in the foster care system or somebody that's a ward of the court. So most of our students are considered dependent, not independent, but we do have some students that fall under the independent. Just again, friendly reminder, if you're rolled in late, that's great. We're glad you're here. Use your phone to take a screenshot or a snapshot of the QR code to ask questions. Okay. All right, so I talked a little bit about the California DREAM Act application. I'm not going to read this through to you, but basically it's for eligible non-citizens. It is a separate application. Students that qualify for the California DREAM Act are non-citizens, and they fill out the California DREAM Act application, not the FAFSA. Because remember, FAFSA is federal, and so the federal government does not give financial aid to dreamers or eligible non-citizens. California does. So if you have questions on that, your counselors are well versed in about what you need to become, to receive the DREAM Act, and we will help you fill that out. Another grant that is available to our students is the Chafee grant, and that's for students that are in the foster youth system. So if you know somebody that's been in the foster youth system or a ward of the court after the age of 16, they could be eligible for the Chafee grant. And the Chafee grant is an additional $5,000 for college. So if I have a foster student that will get the Pell Grant, get the Cal Grant A or Cal Grant B, and they will also get an additional $5,000. And I think this is a great grant because a lot of times the foster students don't have enough money to help them transition because of housing and food and clothing and things like that. So that's the Chafee grant. So if you know any students in the foster system, please refer them in our direction so we can help them fill out that additional application. And then there is the middle class scholarship, and these are for families that don't qualify for the Cal Grant A or Cal Grant B. They will supplement a portion of the tuition and fees for the university. We can't give you a specific dollar amount because the universities calculate that based on your income and based on the tuition and fees. But there is a middle class scholarship. And so that goes back to what we started in the beginning was even if you make a decent amount of money or good money, you still should fill out the FAFSA because your child might be eligible for the middle class scholarship based on how many kids are in your family, kids are going to college, and things like that. Oops, I went the wrong way. Okay, and then work study, when your child or when you are filling out your FAFSA, always check off the box that says work study, because work study is another way of getting money to help pay for school. That's where you work on campus. That's where you might be a lab assistant, or you might work in the library, or you might be a tour guide. That's a way that you can earn money to help pay for your tuition and fees. The caveat is if you do not click work study on your FAFSA application and you decide you want to work on campus, you won't be able to work on campus because you didn't tell them that you were interested in it. So we just recommend every student do check off work study. That doesn't mean you have to work on campus, but it gives you that option to do that, to work on campus. Okay. I'm going to skip over that. So the next thing that I want to talk to you about is CalFresh. CalFresh is a program through California where if you are eligible for free reduced lunch, you can receive up to $190 monthly in food, coupons, food rations, have access to food stores at the campuses. Because what's happening is they're finding that students are spending all their grant money on tuition and fees, and then they don't have money left over to help pay for food. So this is another box that you need to check off when you're applying, or if you're applying to college. Some of the colleges on their application, it asks, are you interested in CalFresh? You always mark yes, okay? Okay, Ms. Prendergast, how are we doing on questions before I move on?
We are doing good. We had a great question that if you're a senior and you meet the Cal Grant A requirement, but you haven't decided where you're going to go to college, should you still fill out the FAFSA? So I was telling them, yes, you should absolutely still fill it out. You get to put up to 10 different colleges that you're interested in on the FAFSA, and they'll share your financial aid with each of those institutions. And then you'll just, once you decide where you're going to go, the financial aid office will work with you to decide, what grants are best for you that you qualify for.
Exactly. I always say it's like buying a car, going to college. You fill out your college applications, you fill out your FAFSA, and then what happens is in January and February, you'll get your letters of acceptances, and then you'll get your financial aid award letters. And it's like shopping for a car. You look at this school's going to give me this school's going to give me this this school is going to give me this, and then you decide what school you want to go to based on your financial aid award. So I always tell kids, if you want to go to a 4-year, but you're not sure about financial, still apply to the 4-year, because you don't know what kind of monies you're going to get from your FAFSA or from the universities and things like that. So that was a great question, Ms. Prendergast. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so I came back to this slide. This is for community colleges. So community colleges are now, in the state of California, are offering the College Promise Grant. And basically what that is you get your first year free, and you have to follow certain criteria. But the nice thing is, it used to be first year free for people that were eligible for free reduced lunch. Now anybody, doesn't matter the income, can be eligible for first year free. So I'm going to show you a really quick little video. And those of you that might have joined us a little later, remember the QR codes are here for you to ask questions.
We are here at California Community Colleges asking students if they know what the BOG fee waiver stands for. Stands for like...
Better off Gucci?
What?
Bag of grapes?
Beards on goldfish?
Book of gold, maybe. Is this a trick question? Bowl of gummies or something like that? Is it somebody's name? Some guy named Bob.
Band of gorillas?
Barack Obama. Government. Board of Governors. Board of Governors. Board of Governors fee waivers. California
College.
Promise Grant. California College Promise Grant.
California College Promise Grant.
California College Promise Grant.
Hey, California College Promise Grant. I have no clue. I don't know. Something having to do with class money or something, I think.
California College Promise Grant is a statewide commitment to help Californians pursue their higher education goals by waiving tuition fees. Books.
For rent, food, gas money.
A car, which is very needed. In addition, many of our local community colleges offer their own promise partnerships to help also pay for books, supplies, and other expenses. And many local promise programs even cover tuition fees if you don't qualify for the California College Promise Grant. Check with your financial aid office to see what's available and get assistance on completing your application.
Why not take advantage of what's given to you?
I'm going to go online to ICanAffordCollege.com.
For more information and to apply, visit ICanAffordCollege.com.
We are here at California Community Colleges asking...
Sorry, guys. All right. So come back to you. So for those of us that have been around for a while, we used to know it as the BOG. So that's why I like to show that video. So the BOG no longer exists. It's the California Promise Grant. And like I said earlier, even if you're you make too much money in the past, like that you wouldn't be eligible for the BOG, anybody can get the College Promise Grant. The key thing with it is there's some criteria that you have to meet. One of them is you have to fill out your FAFSA. They will not give you the first year free unless you fill out your FAFSA. The other is to take a guidance course, and actually Heritage is going to be offering that guidance course this spring. So those of you that are a senior, you can take that guidance course this spring and get that taken care of. You actually can take it for $26, get it taken care of. So you've already met 2 of the requirements for the first year, the California Promise Grant, which is the fill out your FAFSA, take the guidance class. The other thing is you take your FYE program, which is the first year experience, and then also take your math and English within the first year. So I highly recommend this for students that are planning on going to community college, even students that are planning on going to community college and transfer. This is a great experience, but you have to fill out your FAFSA or your California Dream Act to be eligible for this. Okay, we already talked about CalFresh. All right, so I think we have time to do this. I'm going to cover this. I'm going to play this video. So either Monday or Tuesday, you got an email from the PUHS, the students got an email from the PUHSD district office with a form that shows them what they might be eligible for it with their academic standing right now. It's super cool. It's a personalized form. It's specific to your child or to you, the student, and it tells you what you might have the potential for. So I'm going to show you this video really quick about how to read that form. So parents, tell your children to check their emails because they received this form. I think parents, you received a letter regarding this form. So I'm going to show it really quick. How are you going to pay for college? And what is financial aid? Many students don't understand or are confused on what the financial aid process is for and really what kind of money are they going to get. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over a form that was sent to you in your email earlier this week, and you should each have an individual copy with your name on it. And we're going to go over how to know what kind of money you're going to receive to go to college. So this is the first page of the form that you received. Juniors, you will not be submitting your FAFSA this year. You'll be submitting it next year. But seniors, you will be submitting your FAFSA by March 2nd. These are the lists of the different grants that you might be able to receive. And the way we calculated your report was based on, are you eligible for free and reduced lunch? And also, if you meet the 3.0 GPA requirement for the Cal Grant A's. Our district has 70% of the students receive the Pell Grant. So if you look at the top paragraph, we had our students receive more than $3.5 million to help them pay for college. So I just want to highlight your specific form so you can read what you might be receiving. Now, if you know you're eligible for free and reduced lunch and you didn't fill out the free and reduced lunch application, make sure you do so because that's a good way of knowing if you're eligible for different grants. So the first grant I'm going to highlight is the Cal Grant A. So the Cal Grant A is if you are planning on going to a CSU, a UC, or a private institution. These are the dollar amounts that each Cal Grant A provides. Remember, it's every year for up to 4 years. So if I was looking at this chart and I was planning on going to UC, I could get $12,570 per year, which would be $50,280 over 4 years. Now the Cal Grant A, if you notice, you have to have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. Now juniors, this is really important for you to note because your Cal Grant A GPA is based on your 10th and 11th grade GPA. So if you enter your senior year and you have not retaken classes or brought up your GPA, you will not be eligible for the Cal Grant A monies directly out of high school. Now, you can be eligible for the Cal Grant A monies after you attend a community college or bring your grades up, but you do have the opportunity to bring up your grades your 11th grade year or the summer after your 11th grade year. Seniors, you are now locked in. You can't go back and change your Cal Grant A GPA, but that's all right. But just note, juniors, it's super important to get that 3.0 or higher before you enter your senior year. Now, if you have a 2.0 or higher, you can get the Cal Grant B, and that's for community college. And it does say limited to 1 year only, and there's other variables that deal with that, but we're not going to cover that today. But you can use the Cal Grant B for community college. And then the Cal Grant C is if you're planning on going into a CTE program. So let's say I would like to be an auto mechanic. I'm not planning on going to a 4-year university or transferring. I could use that $1,100 for my education at a community college to become an auto mechanic. So Cal Grant C is you are eligible. And the nice thing about the Cal Grant C is there's not a GPA attached to it. Now, the next one, the Pell Grant, this is super, super important. They've changed the value to $6,345. This is not based on GPA, it's based on need. So remember how I talked about earlier, you being eligible for free reduced lunch? if you're eligible for free and reduced lunch, you're more than likely going to be eligible for the $6,345. And that's awarded every year, and that could be up to 4 years. So if you look, you can get $25,380 for 4 years to go towards your college education. And also note that the Pell Grant is also good at community college. So you've heard about promise grants and first year free. This is part of why that's happening. So the next few grants that are listed are the Middle Class Scholarship, the UC Blue and Gold, the California State University Grant. Those top 4 are if you're going to a Cal State or UC. CalFresh is super important. I know it looks like it's not very much. It's $194, but we're going to talk more about that. That's so you can receive food vouchers and things like that when you go to college. We don't want you to go to college and be hungry because you're spending all your money on tuition and fees. And then the Chafee Grant, that's for foster youth. So let me give you an example for a student. So let's say I plan on going to the Cal State University San Bernardino. I received the Cal Grant A, so I will get $5,742 for up to 4 years, because you will be doing your FAFSA every year, or you'll be doing your DREAM Act application every year. So off the top, I'm going to get $5,742, and once again, that's also based on need. I'm also eligible for the Pell Grant. That's why it's highlighted in yellow. So for 1 year, for me to go to Cal State San Bernardino, I'm going to get a grant total of $12,087. To go to Cal State without living in the dorms, it's going to cost you about $8,000 to $12,000. So that's pretty solid, you guys. That pays basically all your tuition fees, and it's good for up to 4 years. And that's just the Cal Grant A and the Pell Grant. But let's say I'm also eligible for the California State University Grant, and they offer me $2,500, and I'm also eligible for CalFresh. That's another $1,000. I can get up to $15,681 per year to go to college. And that equals, if you look over the 4-year term, $62,724. And this is free money that you don't have to pay back. The only thing that you have to do is you have to fill out your FAFSA and your DREAM Act application. So what you need to do is go back and look at your email and see your sheet and see what you are eligible for. Once you see that sheet, you can fill in and add down what you're going to receive for college. Hopefully, this helps you feel a little bit more comfortable about going to school. That's the number one reason why kids don't go to school, is because of costs. But if you are eligible for free and reduced lunch and your GPAs meet these different criteria, you're going to get free money for college. Please reach out to your counselors if you have any further questions. All right, so some of you, I hope you can find that email with that form, because it is specific to you. Now, some of you might say, wait a minute, I didn't get the Pell Grant. And that could be because maybe you didn't fill out your free reduced lunch application. So if you haven't filled out your free reduced lunch application, make sure you do so, because that will help you understand how much money you're going to get for college. Okay. All right, Ms. Prendergast, do we have any questions before I go on to student loans?
We did have a question about how long does the FAFSA take, and how long until they get notified what the financial aid will look like. And so the answer is, if you have all your information handy with you, that we're going to give you a worksheet. If you have all the information on the worksheet, it should take you about a half hour or less to fill out. And you'll find out right at the end if you qualify for a Pell Grant. And the Cal Grant, it usually takes about a week for you to register your account over there and see that.
Great. That's a great question, Ms. Prendergast. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about student loans. I know that's an ugly term. People don't like to talk about loans. We don't like to talk about loans either, but sometimes you might have to take out a student loan to go to the college of your choice. So there's federal loans, like we said earlier, are cheaper. The interest rate is traditionally cheaper through the federal government than it is through a private bank like Bank of America or Union Bank. So that's another reason to fill out your FAFSA, is to kind of see what loans you are eligible for. Once again, you are not signing a loan document by filling out your FAFSA. You're getting loan information, but you're not signing up for a loan. Now, there's two types of loans. There's a subsidized student loan and an unsubsidized student loan. So the subsidized student loan, while the child or the student is in school, they're not being charged interest. So that's nice. So you can start getting a loan your freshman year in college, and you don't have to, you're not accruing interest until after you finish your degree. We still recommend you pay on that loan, because once the interest kicks in, it will only be on the value of what the loan is left. So that's subsidized. Unsubsidized is where interest is charged depending upon when you get your loan in your first year of college through your senior year. So that's more like a credit card. Like the interest starts right away, but you don't have to pay until you complete, and same thing with a subsidized. The plus loan is for parents. So if a parent wants to take out a loan to help pay for their child's education, that's the plus loan. And we recommend you start paying back your student loans right away. If you can't, that's okay too. But I always say make the financial aid office your best friend, because they can help you with payment plans and expectations, things like that. However, remember that if you don't get a loan through the government, you won't have the flexibility that the schools can offer with student loans and payment plans. All right, so scholarships. We already had a question about a sophomore applying for scholarships. These are national scholarship search engines. These are ones that we recommend. I really like FastWeb. I like Scholarship 360. MalDef down below. That's for Hispanic Americans. There's a lot of really good ones, and basically those are for national scholarships. So those are scholarship. What you do is you go in and you create an account, and they'll ask you questions like, what are the sports that you like to play? And you might put, I like to golf. And then they'll send you scholarships about kids that like to golf. And then yet scholarship is specific to you. We also have a Heritage High School scholarship folder. I've already shared that with all the seniors. So ask your senior student to open that up. And that includes some other local scholarships and other corporate or company scholarships. It's also on the Student Resource Drive on the Heritage High School webpage, and it is also on the Heritage High School Counseling website, the scholarship folder. That I update all the time, so there's always new scholarships going in there. But we recommend you start looking at scholarships right away. Because there are a lot of scholarships out there. And I hate to say this, 2 years ago, we had a local scholarship. It was a $500 scholarship from one of our local organizations, and no students applied for it. So it went away. And that breaks my heart, because $500 could pay for your books for one semester. So definitely apply for scholarships. I know sometimes it takes a while and you're writing essays, but I would create a scholarship folder on your on your Google Drive, and you could just do one essay, tell me about yourself, because that's usually the scholarship essay that they work for, and then you could go back and edit it. But there's definitely a lot of opportunities for scholarship. 2 years ago, one of our students got the Edison scholarship from Southern California Edison, and it was $10,000 a year for 4 years. So there is money out there for our kiddos. Just make sure that they're out applying for these scholarships. Okay, so we're going to talk really quickly about the FAFSA process. Ms. Prendergast had a question earlier about how long does it take. So the first step is you have to create an FSA ID, so that both the parent and the student have to create the FSA ID. And then what the FSA ID is the signature. This is how you sign your FAFSA. And then once you fill out your FAFSA, you're going to do that electronic signature to complete your FAFSA. All right.
Ms. Adame,
Yes.
you have a question?
Okay.
For CalFresh, is there a household income limit to qualify?
There is, but it's basically the same as what you would have to qualify for free and reduced lunch. I do not have those limits. I don't think they've been officially released yet for this year, for the 21-22 school year. But traditionally, students, if they're currently receiving free and reduced lunch, they will receive CalFresh.
Thank you.
And there's no GPA either to CalFresh. And it's community college all the way up to 4-year university. All right, so there's 2 ways to start your FAFSA. I highly, highly recommend the app. I'm not going to show this video, but if you love being on your cell phone and you're good at manipulating things on your cell phone, I would highly, highly, highly recommend, how many times do I have to say highly recommend, right? But highly recommend you to download the app onto your cell phone. And parents, you should do it too, because remember, you have to create an FSA ID. And what happens is, for parents, every year your child has to fill out the FAFSA. But once you create your FSA ID once, you don't have to ever create it again for other siblings. You might have 3 or 4 kids that fill out the FAFSA. Once you create your FSA ID, you're done. And when you do it on the app, it automatically saves it. It's easier to retrieve when you have it on the app. But if you can't download the app, that's okay too. You could also launch through our California Colleges website. I have the links here. And the students yesterday participated in Kickoff to College, so they know how to access the California Colleges website too. But those are the 2 ways that you should, either or, you should launch your FAFSA. Or, yeah, your FAFSA, because the California DREAM Act, you do not launch through FAFSA. All right. So this is just a quick snapshot of what you need to fill out the FAFSA. You need your child's or yours and your parents' social security cards. Now, let me say this. We don't want that information. We do not want it. We're not asking. Heritage High School is not asking for your social security cards. The reason why we ask for the social security cards is a lot of times students will put in the wrong social security number, like they might invert 2 numbers, or they have a double last name and they only put 1 name on their FAFSA. So that makes it really difficult for us to link to CSAC, which is the California Student Aid Commission, to see for your grant money. So we like the kids to have the physical card there with them, or parents there with you to fill out the FAFSA. Driver's license, if the kids have one. If they don't, that's not a big deal. Any documentation if they're eligible non-citizens. We recommend you do the FAFSA by December, because remember we talked about the grants that the colleges can offer. They want to have your FAFSA submitted by December, because they can't offer you money unless they know what your financial status is. So if you don't fill out your FAFSA till March 2nd, you might lose out on monies that the colleges can give you. So I highly recommend that you do November. As a school, we say December, but the due date is March 2nd for your FAFSA, as well as for your graduation requirement. And the other thing that you need is your previous year's tax returns. You're going to need the 2019 tax return to fill out the FAFSA, your parents. All right, so here's that worksheet that Ms. Prendergast was talking about. It breaks it down even further, all the information that you need. If you collect all this information prior to sitting down and filling out your FAFSA, it will take you about a half hour. It goes very quickly if you have all this information. Where it gets confusing is if you sit down and you try to do it without your parents' anniversary date, or your parents' W-2s. So I also included a link on here to the FAFSA worksheet. Your kids also have a link to that. It's also in the Student Resource Drive. It was also in the Kickoff to College information. I'll be sending it out over and over again, because we want you to successfully fill out the FAFSA. All right, Ms. Prendergast, any questions before I move on to who is the parent?
We did have a good question. If parents have already created an FSA ID for an older sibling, is it the same FSA ID? Yes, it is. The parent will use the same FSA ID. And if they've forgotten it, they can use the data retrieval password tool to get it.
Correct. And they can retrieve it, and that's just the same one. Even if you have 3 kids in college right now, you always sign with the same FSA ID. We don't recommend that your students create the account for you, because we've had students, and for the parents, we've had students that have created the account for their parents, and then they go off to college, and now their younger sibling is filling out the FAFSA, and they have no idea what the FSA ID is, and then the older sibling has forgotten. So that makes it a little bit more trying. That's why I always say, parents, you fill out, you make your own FSA ID, or you have your own app on your phone, because then you have it all right there. It's a lot easier. Any other questions, Ms. Prendergast, before I move on to the who is the parent?
Nope, we're good.
All right, so here we go. So this is probably one of the number one questions that we get is, who is my parent when I fill out the FAFSA? So I love this form. It breaks it down for you. So your parent is your biological or legally adopted parent. That is who your parent is. If your parents are married, then they have to report both of their taxes on the FAFSA. If your parents live together but they're not married, they still have to report both of their taxes because they live together. If they don't live together, you're going to report whichever parent you've spent more time with over the past 12 months. So I always say it's the person that is financially responsible for you. That would be the parent that you would use. At the bottom here, you can see, and this is where we get a lot of confusion. Your grandparent is not a parent that you're going to report their income on the FAFSA. Even though you might be being raised by your grandparent, you will not report their income unless they have legally adopted you, or they have court-appointed legal guardianship. A lot of grandparents are raising kids, and they are not considered the parent unless the court has deemed that. Your foster parents, if you're a foster student, you are not reporting your foster parents' income. Your aunts, uncles, older brothers, sisters, those are not considered your parents. So some of you might have, well, I don't have access to my parent. That's okay, because when you fill out your FAFSA, there is a question that says, can you report your parents' information? And if you're not able to, you would click the box no. Okay, so that's a quick snapshot of that parent. The other thing that parents ask is, well, my child lives with me, but her dad claims her on his taxes. Who you report on your FAFSA has nothing to do with who claims the child. It's who is financially responsible for the child more than half the time. That's whose FAFSA information you use. It doesn't matter who claims who on the taxes. All right? And we are here to help you. I know this is confusing. We're throwing a lot of information at you tonight. We'll be doing more workshops. We'll be doing more meetings to help you, because we really are excited about making sure our students get financial aid. Okay, so when you fill out your FAFSA, just like Ms. Prendergast said earlier, you get immediate response on the Pell Grant if you receive it or not. And the way they calculate it, it's called your EFC. So you'll have people say, well, what's your EFC? What's your EFC? Well, what the EFC is what the universities or what the federal government expect the family to contribute to your education. So when you fill out your FAFSA, the EFC is going to pop up, and it's going to say, let's say it says $2,780. That's how much the government expects your parents to provide for your education. So the higher the EFC, the lower amount of money you will get. The lower the EFC, the higher money you will get. And so then they take out what they consider the cost of attendance, and that's how they decide what your need is for your college costs, tuitions, and fees. All right, so these are just some additional websites, the California colleges, other scholarships. And this page I took out of that Fund Your Future magazine. So remember I showed it to you at the very beginning? This page is on there with some other helpful websites. And I think we've come to the end, Ms. Prendergast. Do we have any other questions?
We do not have any questions right now. I would want to add, I'm not sure if we said at the beginning that FAFSA is now a graduation requirement in the Parish Union High School District.
It sure is.
Yes, we need to make sure that everybody, all the seniors this year, fill it out, the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, so we make sure that you're eligible for graduation.
And we are waiting for the district, or I'm sorry, not the district, the school, to approve some incentives. The last few years, we've been able to give out graduation tickets for submitting your FAFSA at different dates. The earlier you submit it, you might get a few more graduation tickets. So right now I'm negotiating that with our administration, and hopefully next year you'll get those extra graduation tickets because you submitted your FAFSAs. All right, so we'll hang out. Ms. Prendergast, you want to come back on and we'll say goodbye. We'll hang out a couple more minutes to see if any other questions come in. But if not, I will be sending out this video to everybody so you can see it and go over it. So I'm going to stop recording now. Ms. Prendergast and I are going to stay on for a little while to answer any additional questions that might come in, and we'll be all set.
Just click on the QR code if you have any questions.